sports and this position is a nice combination of that tangible feeling at the end of the day that you've done something and just that bigger mission.
Tell the viewers a little bit about yourself, just in general. Who is Sophie?
Sure. My name is Sophie Luks. I'm from Rhode Island, born and raised. Let's see, I went to Boston College. I was a biochem major and a theology minor, which definitely makes sense how I ended up here. I graduated about 5 years ago from BC and then moved to Chicago. So I've been living in Chicago for the past 4 years and working at US Soccer for the past 3 years.
What is your current position or role with the team?
I'm a youth national teams administrator, so I'm specifically the U20 women's team administrator, but at US Soccer we have 14 youth national teams and currently 3 full-time administrators. So between us we all cover the 14 national teams or whichever ones are currently active.
What was your journey like? I know you went to Boston College, you got your degree, you started working, but what was the pathway to get into team administration to work in sport in general?
So I graduated in biochemistry. I was pre-med. I worked in research and science all through undergrad. The first year after I graduated, I worked as a neurology or as a research assistant in a neurology research lab. Still in Boston, and then I moved to Chicago. I couldn't find a science job right away, so I just started doing odd jobs, and it was a really good time to get a break, I guess, and actually a pause and figure out if I wanted to do science. I knew I didn't want to go back to school for science, so then what my next options were. And I love the women's, the U.S. women's national team, as anyone who's seen them does.
Number one.
Love a winner. So I just was looking at Teamwork Online, the sports job website, and I found a position for a Development Academy Associate at US Soccer, which is a 6-month internship. For some reason they hired me, which I still haven't figured that one out. But it worked really well, and I really like the environment, and I like working in sports because we can get into it later, I guess, but I really like focusing on the details and knowing at the end of every day I did all of this work and I can see a tangible result to my work. But there's also the bigger, especially at US Soccer, the overall working towards a goal and working towards something bigger than ourselves, which is, the team and the federation and just soccer. So I got the internship. So I was at US Soccer for 6 months in the Development Academy, and then I wanted to stay, and they happened to need an interim human resources position. So I worked as the receptionist basically for 5 months just so I could stay at US Soccer and keep my foot in the door.
Okay.
And then it worked. And then 2 years ago I was hired, or they were hiring for a youth national teams administrator. And those were people I'd been working with or trying to talk to for the last, 11 months. And I got the position, and I've been here for the past 2 years. So sports and this position is a nice combination of that tangible feeling at the end of the day that you've done something and just that bigger mission that you're.
Tell us a little bit about a typical day, because I don't think people really get a grasp of how many different moving pieces are behind the scenes. What they see on TV is the athletes run out, they perform, you'll see the trainer come out, but you are definitely like a behind the scenes person, which in most cases you don't ever see team administrators online or on the field. You may see people in suits on the field, but no one really knows who they are. But what does a typical day look like for you? And I know that's a wild question because every day is a little different.
Yeah, which is fair. That's also what I like about the job. Every day is a little different. It's hard to get bored. The general summary of my job, any team administrator's job, is everything off the field is our responsibility. So my job is basically to make sure that the coaches and the technical staff and the athletes can get on the field and focus on their job, and then they don't have to worry about a single thing that's happening off the pitch. So for a camp like this, logistically, I take care of, coordinating with the hotel, getting everyone set up in the hotel, travel arrangements, day-to-day logistics. So day-to-day, a day in the life at a camp would be wake up, see all the texts and emails that I missed the last 7 hours. I talk to the hotel and I tell them this is what, confirm the timings for meals, confirm if we have ice deliveries, if we're ice bathing. I'll send that out. Obviously, COVID times has been some additional responsibilities. So we had COVID testing today, so making sure that we're set for that, sending out the list to all the teams so that everybody else knows that they're testing, working with the testing coordinators to make sure they know they're coming at the right time. And then I guess the day-to-day is really hard to describe because it is just a lot of
variables. Putting out fires?
Putting out fires is basically. Ideally, after the first few days, things are running as they should and you get into a routine, which means I don't have to handle confirmation so much anymore, but then it becomes a lot about putting out fires from big to very, very small.
What advice would you have for like any budding team administrators? What is a good personality trait, skill set that could give you the temperament to be successful in this type of a position?
Yeah, I think you touched on what I think is one of the bigger ones. I think the organization and the attention to detail, I feel like those are pretty self-explanatory. The entire job is just organizing things and paying attention to the details. And stuff will always fall through the cracks, but just trying to minimize how much stuff that is. So I'd say that's the obvious, but then for me, the bigger learning curve was just you're in a camp with 40 people 24/7, just managing personalities, managing yourself, and how I'm not a naturally extroverted person. I'm not usually around this many people for this long. So I think for me, it was a lot of figuring out, one, just how to lead with kindness and respect, because all of that sets a tone for the camp. I think the team administrator, any staff member in camp, has a responsibility for setting the tone and the culture of a camp. But I think the patience and flexibility is key things to have.
What would you say is the most kind of, I guess, key ingredient to building a successful team environment?
I guess a few answers, as I have done for all of these, but I think something we've done really well in this camp and something I think we try to be good at U.S. soccer camps is just a player-first mentality. I think for all of the behind-the-scenes, and I think it's great that we're honoring the behind-the-scenes people, because being one and working with them every day, I mean, the amount of work that every single staff member puts into a camp is just unmatched, and a lot of it just goes unnoticed, as it should, because if everything's going well, things should seem like they're smooth and easy, even though everyone's
just running around, chaotic.
Yeah. Whatever the duck paddling beneath the surface, but it looks smooth and easy from the top. And I think that's been great at this camp. And also just the focus of, especially in a youth camp, the athletes come first, the players come first, making sure they're comfortable and they're in an environment that's not just supportive now, but that they can go home afterwards. And regardless of if they're going back to a professional environment, college environment, club environment, they feel good about their time at, U.S. soccer. And they feel that they've gotten better at camp. And I think a successful team environment is just focusing on that bigger mission, which is winning, and it's also just the players. And I think I grew up playing sports like I think basically everyone here has.
Yeah.
And I think that team environment is key. Also, just, you're working with other staff members. Everyone's here contributing to a common goal. And I think a successful team environment to me is just that bigger mission is in mind, and it's collaborative. There's no egos, and it really is everyone just building in and supporting each other, especially these month-long camps.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for being my first interview. I don't have anything else to say. The person behind the scenes, respect and honor your team administrators.
Be nice to the team administrator. We book all the flights and hotels.
And then you can get home possibly.
Yeah.